Around a medicinal creeper. This is the story of an unusual medicinal creeper. There were so many stories about this creeper, some true, some imaginary, and some totally false. To go beyond these stories and learn some facts about this plant took me almost 20 years. A coffee seed bed has to be protected from the sun by putting up a shade over it. Once we were erecting a bamboo frame for such a shade, and we needed something with which we could tie the cane pieces across the frame. So we went Sanna to get some creepers from the forest. He bought a whole bundle. Mara opened the bundle, and while stifling, he suddenly looked at one of the creepers and scolded Sanna. Hey, why did you pluck this, you fool? When I inquired, he said that it was a medicinal creeper. Sana said that there were plenty of it in the forest. Mara eagerly said, Come, show me where it is, and took Sanna into the forest. Out of sheer curiosity, I also went with them. That is how I got to know about this medicinal creeper. When Sanappa showed the plant, Mara became very active. He caught hold of one of the tendrils and tied it to a nearby tree. I was surprised at that and asked, Mara, why did you tie that creeper to the tree? The thief, he said, now it will be lying here. Why? Where do you think it will run to? I asked him. Oh, you don't know about this creeper? It had been cursed by a sage. The curse is that when someone needs this plant, they shall not find it. So, when you want it and search for it, you won't be able to find it for the dear life. That is why, when you find it, you must immediately tie it to a nearby plant so that it will be lying there, explained Mara. This creeper has small leaves resembling petal leaves and bear fruits in a bunch like grapes. Immediately after the rains, this plant comes up and flowers very quickly, puts forth flowers and fruits and dies. It comes up again only in the next rainy season. So, in between, no one sees this plant. Because it is not seen for most of the year, they probably tie it to a tree nearby so that it can be easily identified or located. But Mara's stories are so bizarre that one does not know which is true and which is false. This is not confined only to people like Mara. The entire system of Indian medicine suffers from this kind of mystification. Now the forests are disappearing, and the people who know about these things are also leaving us one by one. I am very keen to share the information I have with someone. Someone should be aware of these things, but whenever I try to discuss the unique properties of these plants and herbs with my doctor friends, they become annoyed and call me enormous and even squabble with me. That day, though Mara tying up the plant, praised it to the sky, saying that every inch of it was medicinal. He did not tell me what exactly it cured. Whether he did not want to tell me or simply did not know, I can't say. I didn't force him. One day, it seems Mara had gone to the forest to bring some bamboo shoots home. With his hand thrust through the bamboo cane when he was cutting the shoot, he accidentally cut his hand. The sharp sickle had apparently cut an artery and it started bleeding copiously in spots. Everyone around was alarmed, and some bought leaf, pressed it against the wound, and bandaged it with a cloth torn from one of their lungis. Mara held his wounded hand carefully so that it would not shake too much and went to the white man at Hulihindalu for proper dressing and treatment. The white man got out his first aid kit, cotton, medicines, antibiotic powder, etc., and opened the bandage and removed the leaf. Surprise! There was no blood, no wound, in fact, no sign of any wound having been there. Now the white man became very angry with Mara. You fool! Are you joking? He shouted. Mara showed him all the blood on his clothes and body and cringed before him, saying that he was not lying. Looking at all this, the Englishman believed Mara. He took the leaf that had been kept on the wound and told Mara, "Show me the plant from which you plucked this leaf. I will give you my entire plantation." Mara took him to the forest, and even though they searched for the entire day from morning to evening, they did not find that plant which had similar leaf. Now, the Englishman thought that Mara really did not want to identify the plant. He was angry because he thought that Mara was so greedy that even though he had offered him his entire estate, he was not satisfied. So he took out his gun and pointed at Mara and said, "If you do not show it to me, I will shoot you down." Now Mara was shivering and he started crying loudly. He fell at Englishman's feet and begged him and said that he really did not know. I believe the Englishman, now really angry, said, "Get out," and drove him out. Hearing this story, I also showed my irritation and said, "Yours is a cock and a bull story, totally fabricated. If you had gone and searched near the bamboo bush where you hurt your hand, would you not have found the leaf and the plant?" To which he replied with another story that the mongoose and the cowcal also knew about this plant, and that when they go hunting snakes, if they are bitten by the poisonous snake, they immediately chew this leaf and thus cure themselves. Mara did not have any teeth on the right side of his mouth. He had to chew everything on the left side. He was aged and perhaps they had fallen off naturally. But why only one side? I was curious. One day I asked him how he had come to lose all the teeth only on one side. He told me a very interesting story. It seemed that they had fallen out long ago and not as a result of his advancing age. Once he had laid a trap in the forest to catch rabbits. He was worried that somebody else might get there before him in the morning and take away his catch, so he went into the forest before daybreak. The trap was empty. No rabbit had walked into it. Since there was a stream flowing nearby, Mara decided to brush his teeth and wash his face before trekking back home. When he broke a small stick from a nearby plant to brush a third or fourth time, he felt a sour taste in the mouth. He thought that there was something wrong with the stick and threw it. Before he could try another stick, he wanted to rinse his mouth. He took some water from the stream, put it into his mouth, and after churning it around in his mouth, spat it out. Surprise! All the teeth which had been touched by the stick tumbled out of his mouth. Thank God I was safe because I had not brushed all the teeth. Otherwise, I would not have any teeth left to eat even rice. I rebuked him. "Hey Mara, if you want to tell lies, they must at least be believable." Mara said, "Can't you see that I have lost all those teeth? Then come and show me the plant." "How can I show you that plant? There are hundreds of plants in the forest. You can do one thing, sir. You can try brushing your teeth with each of them. Then we can find out which one has this effect." "Why should I? You are the one who is lying. So you have to brush your teeth with all those plants and discover the right one." "My God, there are so many plants in the forest. I won't live long enough to try each and every one of them." "Hey Mara, if you keep trying out different ones, you may find one which is going to make your teeth come back." "How can I say which type of plant I will stumble upon? Just my bad luck if I get one which kills me." "Then why are you asking me to try?" "Because you are the one who is accusing me of lying. Suppose you came upon the one that will bring back your youth. I don't even want that. If I become young, I will have to marry again. Let that be, but don't think that such a plant does not exist in our forest," he said and told me another story. Long ago, Mara and a friend of his laid a trap and caught a barking deer. As they had to divide it equally among them, they took it near to the stream, Skin it, clean it, and divided the meat. They wrapped their portion in some leaf and brought them home. In Mara's house, they got ready to cook. They prepared the masala with spices and put the water to boil and opened the packet to take out the meat. Surprise of surprises! Instead of the meat, there was a live wild bug. The moment it saw Mara, it jumped up and ran out of his house. When Mara was trying to catch it, as usual, Mara's wife ignorantly took the leaf and threw them into the fire. When I heard the story, I was speechless and I did not ask Mara for any elaboration or explanation because this was the height of his inventive genius. It is no wonder that the white man of Hulihindalu was prepared to give away his entire estate in exchange for these wonder plants. After a long time, Mara's medicinal creeper was back in the news. This time I saw a panna tying it to a nearby tree. I asked him whether he knew its uses. He did not know. I believe if you squeeze the juice of these leaves, milk become hard, he said. I thought that probably the leaf of this creeper must be sour. When you squeeze something sour into the milk, it spoils and curdles. I thought this was being mistaken for hardening of milk. I asked Panna, have you seen it happen? That is what people say. Where I can find milk for all such experiments, he replied. Is there any basis for the stories that are spread about these plants and herbs? I wondered whether I should squeeze the leaves into the milk and see what happens. Instead of criticizing others for not knowing, I thought it would be better to check it out on my own. I plucked some leaves from the creeper and took them to my friend Chandru, who is a plant pathologist. I told him what I had heard about this plant. We decided to conduct the experiment and bought a liter of milk. The other scientist friends laughed at us. They said that we were wasting a liter of good milk, listening to all kinds of cook and bull stories. Once we had decided to play the fools, we couldn't care less about others laughing at us. So we put the milk and leaves into a mixer and switched it on. After they were thoroughly mixed, we poured it out into a vessel. We watched for some time to see whether it would have become curdled or remain as it was. Nothing happened for a couple of minutes. Just as I decided that we had indeed wasted a liter of milk, I touched it again. It had become firm and rubbery. When we inverted the vessel, the whole thing fell out like a molded cast. So then, this creeper had some qualities. Now it was our turn to wonder. But the problem was that despite all of these, we didn't know which disease or diseases it cured. Time passed, and once again I forgot about Mara's medicinal creeper. The other day, my former farm worker Krishna came to me. He was perfectly healthy the last time I had seen him, but now he was standing before me, pale and breathless. He had stopped working in the estate some time ago and was driving a rickshaw. Apparently, when he changed his job, he started passing blood with a stool. Now it had become more serious and he was tired, breathless, and wheezing. I thought he must be having piles. As far as I know, the only allopathic treatment for piles was surgery. I felt sorry for this man who used to work hard to earn a living. With a wife and a small children at home, I wondered how he could manage expensive surgical treatment at the hospital. He took some money from me and went to the hospital. The doctors there advised him surgery. Krishna was scared. Krishna knew a Malayali sadhu. This godman had treated Krishna on an earlier occasion when Krishna had started developing boils all over his body. The godman had given Krishna the bark of some tree which he was supposed to crush and mix with duck's egg and eat. The full course of treatment was of 10 days. It seems Krishna had been completely cured, and after the treatment he never got a boil again. Krishna went to see the godman again. Now the godman had become too old. Apparently, he told Krishna that he did not have the strength to search for the plant, but he would describe it. Krishna had to search for this plant, dig out the tuberous root, mix it with milk, and drink the medicine for 5 days. The next day, I saw Krishna looking for this medicinal creeper. When I listened to his description, I was sure that he was looking for the same creeper which Mara and Apanna had tied to the nearest tree. I took him to the plant. We had to dig quite a bit to get the tuber. Krishna ground his root and drank it with milk. Within a day, his piles improved. He was completely cured in 5 days. Even more strange was what happened to me. When we had dug up the root, I ate just a small piece of it just to see how it tasted. It was slightly bitter. My right heel had been paining for quite some time. If I had to walk long distances, I would start limping. In addition, of late, there was a swelling next to the bone of my heel. The surgeon had said that it had to be surgically removed, but I noticed that a few days after I had eaten this piece of root, the swelling had disappeared. How can I say that this was the effect of the creeper? It could have been purely accidental. Even if it was so, there are various types of swelling that occur in the human body, and this particular plant may be effective only on some of them. Who is going to do that research into all these aspects? For people like Mara, research is of no importance at all. Even the Malayali godman shared his knowledge with Krishna only because he was too old and weak, or else he would have gone to the forest himself and given Krishna the medicine as a secret potion. One of the problems is that these native doctors believe that if they told others about their medicines, the medicines would lose their potency. Because of this belief, India's native medicinal systems are on the verge of extinction.